Hello, everybody, and welcome to another webinar of Easy Busy Pets. In today's presentation, we're going to start by showing you the customer experience, followed with how you or your many employees can handle the job request. And finally, at the end, we'll do a little bit of invoicing and billing to show you how the straight-through process might work. Let's begin by looking at a mobile phone. It could be almost any internet-enabled device in the world, whether it's a mobile phone or a tablet or a PC. And in this case, we're looking at a pet owner, one of your clients, and I'm using a test pet owner. So they're not a real person, but just for the purposes of this demonstration, her name is Stephanie. I'm saying the name because you're going to see the name flying around everywhere. Now, your customers, your pet owners, they have their own pets, some with many, some with just one. And each of them have access to an online experience. And it starts with a web app on their mobile phone. It would have your logo and your logo as well as your business name on the web app. But because I'm using my demo here as for demonstration purposes, it's my company's logo, and I hope that's okay and understood. So when a customer goes onto their dashboard online, whether it's on a mobile phone, a tablet, or a PC, and I'll try to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better, everybody gets a dashboard. The pet owner dashboard is designed for their online experience, so with your branding in mind. Right now, it's just using my branding. They get quick links. Stephanie has 3 dogs and 1 cat, each of which can be booked. She can book them all at the same time. She can edit their profiles. Some of them might have multiple forms, like if it's a bird, they might have an extra form or something like that in the system. Because I use her for a lot of my demonstrations, she has a lot of invoices here as well as upcoming appointments. In case you're wondering, yellow means she's requested them, but the business hasn't accepted it yet. There's more to show on this front, but to keep this simple, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to book button here. So let's book him or scheduling him. It depends on the wording you prefer to use. And in my demonstrations, I have a lot of different categories. These are not what we force on you. It's just something that different folks have asked me to add over the last few months in my demonstrations to show them that, yes, we support dog walking and sitting and grooming salons and mobile groomers and daycare and resorts and kennels and boarding and training, hiking, Reiki, and various exotic services as well. And so these are just some examples. It doesn't even have to be a category of the type of service. It could be areas that you cover because we have some franchises that use Easy Busy Pets. So I'm just going to maybe book a dog sit for the purposes of the demonstration of how a pet owner might experience a booking. And again, within these categories, I have some examples here of 2 different types of services, and they are literally set up differently in how they get booked. I'm going to choose visit. Booking a visit takes me here where Stephanie, the pet owner, gets to choose when, where, who, and what. This is just one example of one of our user experiences for booking a certain time and date. Today's the 12th of February, and she gets to choose amongst my team. Let's say I have a team of 10 people in the business. Only 3 of them are showing up as available at night on the 12th because these are the 3 that happen to be available based on their calendar, capable because the system accounts for the fact that people can or cannot do certain work. Like a groomer cannot be doing visits. They can be doing grooming on site or something like that. So it's taken into account quite a few variables here just to pop up these options for the pet owner, Stephanie, who's making the booking. If I switch between the different times in that day, you see how this experience moves people around. Some people might no longer be available, and that's just a function of the fact that they're available or not to do the job. You don't have to have availability turned on. You can let the system double book you. It still comes in as a request, and you still have to accept or decline. But with availability, it's very easy to make an accept decision. You don't even have to show your workers to your customers if you don't want to as an option. The purpose of me showing this to you is that you know that you can. every day of the week might be different in terms of time options. So if I choose a Monday, for example, um, I have different time options. This time I chose to show it in ranges of time. It could be just regular times, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m., 10 p.m., that sort of thing. So you get to design every single day of the week and what it shows in terms of options for the customer. If it's grayed out, then that means that Stephanie can't choose it. It means it's fully booked and none of your workers are available to do the job. Again, that's only if you don't just make it double book you and that's it. For those who are interested in multiple day appointments, something maybe more recurring, cat sits tend to be around a 2-week period. So let's choose a 2-week period here. And the user experience, depending on, like if it's a short period of time, maybe 1 to 2 weeks, it just shows you all the days and you can specifically set in a completely non-patterned way. It doesn't have to be a pattern at all. Multiple times in one day, you can specifically ask for those dates and times for this one appointment to repeat itself accordingly. You can even choose the worker in this regard. If you want to, you can even choose maybe something worth like a year's worth of services. And if that happens, then the user experience changes again. It can be indefinite or a year or 2 years of every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at these specific times, maybe multiple in one day. And that can be booked as well. To keep things simple, I'm just going to choose one date. Today's the 12th. Let's choose the night with worker Stephen. Now, Stephanie might want to add additional pets. No problem. We have capacity settings for her if we want to set that up as business managers. She might want to choose her address. Oops. Now, usually it goes straight to a request button, but somebody asked me in a previous demonstration to add additional questions. You can have a very elaborate system of information gathering here if you want to, or it can be completely blank. Because of our custom fields technology, you have that power, not just to add electronic forms into the system for each pet, each client, each staff member, but also electronic forms as part of appointments. They are partially, depending on how you want it to behave, maybe part of it during booking and part of it filled out by your workers during the appointment itself. And it's still a request, even after all that check, all those checks. And this person who asked me to add these things asked me to show how I can enforce the pet owner to answer certain questions. That's what you're experiencing here. Let's make another booking. This time, let's book an evening dog walk. Every single service here behaves differently. The reason I choose evening dog walk is mainly because I know that it has times instead of words. It's just the way I set up that service. So one can book an evening dog walk at 8 p.m. But you know what? They maybe might want it for a couple of months. So every Wednesday at 8 p.m. And she chooses Max, she being Stephanie. Now, if she doesn't want a specific Wednesday to be selected, then just uncheck it. All good. Or maybe she might want it to be at a different time, one of those specific days. And as you can see, just different custom fields. It just depends on how you want to run your business and what you require of people to fill out when they're making an online booking. Let's do an overnight booking. You're probably seeing a lot of these notifications up here. It's because this phone happens to be the center point for all the email receivings for notifications and things like that. So let's look at the dog sits. And this time I'm going to book an overnight in your home. So the pet owner is making a booking for an overnight. And again, it's a kind of a different calendar system here, right? So the request is to book it at night on the 12th and leave in the morning on the 19th. And in case you're wondering what's above here, This is a status window. It's typically on the left side of a larger screen, and it shows estimates. It shows the content as you fill it out during the booking. If this customer had a membership with you, a membership being a feature, which is not a package, we have that too, but if they had a membership, then it would say covered by membership if that membership covered this particular type of service. Anyway, Stephanie chooses her address. Request. Maybe we'll do one more for cat sitting. Stephanie has a cat, Mao. She's going to book him here. Cat sitting. 30-minute visit. And in this case, there's additional different fields. This is what a cat sitter wanted me to show them how I can do it. Maybe you need them to acknowledge some kind of terms and conditions. It's gibberish as a demonstration purposes, but hopefully it makes sense, the variation of options. All right. Now, with our solution, you as the administrator, you as the employee of the business, you don't have to have an administration on the PC. We have a mobile version for you, for each and every one of you. And what I'm going to do is demonstrate both, just in case some people prefer it on the PC, some people prefer on the mobile phone. All right. If I'm the manager of the business, and this is my personal computer as the manager of the business, which I call petcaredemo.com, I just go to petcaredemo.com, which is my.com, not Easy Busy Pets. And it recognizes me. So it logs me in already. How do I know this? Because I have schedule, pets, clients, invoices, and then a dashboard showing. If that was the general public, and this business was subscribed to our web builder, so had a website with Easy Busy Pets as well, and they went to petcaredemo.com, they wouldn't see what the manager sees. They would see what the general public is assigned to see in general, which is the web pages, sign up, log in, and pretty standard stuff. This is just an example website. But because it knows that I'm the manager and this is my device, it takes me into the system as a manager. The reason the manager can see these other pages is because as having access to a web builder, you can manage your website as part of your software. And I can make changes to my website pages in real time, which makes it extremely valuable for getting the information out to your customers. But also keep in mind that pet owners, employees, yourself, and the general public are still going to be on your website.com versus some third-party software site. And therefore, you get the SEO versus the system, the software system that would otherwise be running your operations online. But I digress, and that's probably something for a different day in terms of demonstration. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at a calendar system that's used by businesses that are just startup or those that are very, very large, like almost 10,000 pet owners, hundreds of workers, that sort of scenario. And the reason it's used across the board is mainly because of how easily you can narrow down information. It's also used across industry. For example, groomers like this view, sitters and dog walkers like this agenda. We're on a weekly view, which is typical for managers. And we have even a room calendar because there's rooms and kennels and suites that you can set up in the system. Again, not part of this presentation today, but perhaps something that one might want to request in a future demonstration. In the weekly view, for this week that we're in, today being the 12th of February, it's dividing, because I'm the manager looking at this, it's dividing my workers and myself into their own calendar items for that week. Yellow means it's a request coming from the customer. Blue is something that's currently in progress, and green is a job that's been completed. Before I action on some of these requests that came in right now from our test pet owner, I want to show you the same view in the daily agenda here. This is typical for pet sitting and dog walking type of businesses. You see things chronologically going on that day. I have all my workers here because I'm the manager, so I see all their stuff. Max, Steven, Stacy, these are all pretend people. Stephanie is the pretend customer. So is Kaylee here. These are just examples, and each of them have pets, some of them with multiple pets in the appointment. You can have appointments with multiple clients with multiple pets. It's no problem. Why I like this one the most is because I don't have to go into the appointment to action on things. I can do it right here. Gray means it's something it's a job that's been committed to. And I have options here like check-in and changing of staff, and you can change staff for specific dates of a repeating appointment. I can add pictures and notes before, during, and after the job is started and completed, respectively. These are requests, and I have options to accept and decline. If I update the appointment, I can also accept and decline in there after I made some changes. But before I do any of that stuff, the daily view, same information, but shown with times on the left and workers up top. This is very valuable to groomers because even with availability technology, you might have two groomers that to do a specific job, one of them might take an hour and a half and another one might take 2 hours. So you can't really define the variability of the duration of an appointment by workers just yet. And so they like this view to make sure that the availability technology has done that work for them. If I were in the weekly view, I can narrow down information. For example, I can narrow down by staff, Stephen, or by job, dog sits. I can even find out what's requested. And as you can see, we have those left over. I can find the same information just by a Google style search. It could be a worker or a pet or a customer, and the customer's pets would show. So that's how you narrow down information. This is the cat sit that just came in as a request. Let's look at the same one in the daily agenda. And by the way, folks, if you have any questions as we go along pertaining to my presentation, just send it in the chat. Hello, and I'll try to answer it if it pertains to what I'm doing. Probably in about 10-15 minutes, I'll talk a little bit about an advanced topic called memberships technology and how that might be applied to the booking experience that we've been watching right now. This is a good precursor to that anyway. So the 12th, I'm going to narrow it down to the pet Mao. This is requested by Stephanie for that cat sit. Now I can accept and decline it, or I can update. Updating it takes me into the appointment, just like as if I click there. To update an appointment means you can make changes. The reason Stacy's grayed out right now is because my availability technology is telling me that she's not available. Like she's literally not available. But because I'm the manager of the business, I can force it on her. I can also force times that are outside of the calendar times that were made available to the customer. So you have all these options. Maybe we'll do that. Let's assign Stacy. Now, with regards to notifications, we also have reminders. And reminders are special notifications that come to the customer or to the staff or to you, the manager, some time before the appointment starts. And you design which people and when and how many times those reminders come to those respective people at those times. So, for example, if I know that this customer happens, or maybe the staff member happens to be needing a few reminders for certain things, I might say, you know what, I'm just going to remind the staff member once an hour before, and I'm going to remind him again before the appointment, maybe 36 minutes before the appointment. And similarly, I can choose to remind the client that somebody's coming a day before a day and 1 hour before, a day and an hour and 22 minutes before, and that's how it's set. You can update the location in case the customer forgot. And then there may be custom fields here that the customer hasn't seen when they were filling stuff out that you might want to add some information before you accept or propose back to the customer for them to accept. Now, let's look at the same thing on a mobile phone, just so you see that it's the same experience. In case anybody's wondering, Bob is Stephanie's husband. He's a secondary contact in her profile. Furthermore, we're looking at the appointment right now. It's turned gray because it's turned from a request to a committed appointment. When you're viewing the appointment, which you could have done by going to the calendar and just clicking on it this way or clicking the button there. Stephanie, for example, she has a few documents in the system. Amongst those documents, which I can view just by clicking her name here, it would just take me 3 clicks to get to certain information that I always want to see anyway. So instead of doing all those clicks, I decided I want certain information in her forms to be up front here. And that's why you're seeing alarm codes under her name to enter her home. Or in Mao's case, the pet, his forms, one of those elements of information talk about whether or not I did a meet and greet with him. And that's why it's showing this. I decided during a demonstration some time ago that I always want every pet to have this information about them in the appointment right up front at all times. Long story short. But I digress a bit. Let's go back to the mobile phone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the same account as the manager that you saw on the personal computer, but on a mobile phone. All right. This is the weekly view. I have it defaulted that way. I'm just going to switch over to the daily agenda, which is what typically dog walkers and sitters might have as a view. And I should probably choose the 12th. And I have a lot of stuff going on the 12th because I'm the manager of the business. So it's from all my workers. I'm just going to narrow it down to the cat sit that we saw earlier. Same appointment, just on a different device. I have all my options here. Everything's the same. It just reconfigures itself appropriately to look professional and correct on the mobile phone. Now I'm going to check in. I'm going to check into the appointment here. Okay, customer just got notified that I started the job, and maybe I'll make a picture. And I'll say Mao is doing really great. And here's a picture of Mao. Because it's on my mobile phone, it knows to go straight to my camera. Now, I don't have a real cat next to me, so I'm just going to use one of my kids' toys here. It's just a shark. So let's make a picture of that and assume that's the cat. All right. Let's use that photo. And add. If I wanted to, I can make more pictures. You just click that button again. And there would be one next to each pet if you had multiple pets. It's time-stamped with my name on it. It's also with my content. All right. I'm going to switch to the customer view. Let's say the customer goes into their dashboard on their personal computer. This is what they would see. It's also what you saw earlier on the mobile device. They have their quick links, their pets, and so on and so forth. Now, I use appointments, updates. They get it through email, they get it through messaging, but they can also see the pictures pop up here in this Rolodex of chronological images. I usually don't demonstrate with pets. I never have one in my office, so that's why you're seeing all these objects. This is the one we just did. And let's say Stephanie, who's the customer here, the pretend person, views that appointment. If she likes what she sees, she's going to share it on Facebook. Now, I'm the manager of the business, so she's going to say something like, "Oh my God, John, thank you so much for taking care of my pet cat." All right. It would be your.com, folks, and your business name here. She's going to post it on Facebook, and now I'm going to show you social organic marketing. If you turn this feature on, it's included. It's a really powerful tool because let's, for example, pretend that we are friends, family, and colleagues of this pet owner, Stephanie. If we see her post and we like what she's showing here in terms of the picture, chances are we also have pets. So we're going to click on that to see what's going on. And we find ourselves back on the website services page where we can sign up to become the customer, learn more about the business, or book. That's the evening dog walk I booked earlier. I'm going to log back in and do a quick invoicing and billing tutorial, and then I'll talk a little bit about memberships. So, we were on the mobile phone earlier, and we were looking at the cat sit, which is currently in progress. Maybe I'll just check it out here, and shows that it's complete. Once again, the customer gets notified of everything we've filled out in this appointment. It could have been additional fields here that we would have been filling out. GPS may or may not be turned on depending on how you want to run your business. Invoicing, well, you can build the appointment right from here. My favorite is just to go to this invoicing page. A little background, this is a history of all the bills you've created in the past. You can narrow down by date. You can narrow down by state. Hey, what's outstanding still that hasn't been paid for as a bill? If I want to, I can even find out, my customer Zelda, does she owe me any money? Looks like she owes me $485 that I have to, resend her the bill to get her to pay. Of course, there's all kinds of methods to avoid that, like deposits or prepayment. We have a lot of automation around that line. Again, not typically something we would discuss in an introductory demo like today, but please do ask your rep when you have a chance. If I click new invoice here, it shows me that up till today's date, which I can change to future date and charge people for future stuff too, Stephanie and Bill owe me money. I might have thousands of customers, but these are the folks that owe me something. I'll click on Stephanie here, and it looks like she owes me for Mao and a couple of other jobs that I did earlier this week. Of course, I can charge her for things in the future too, just by changing the date on the invoice. Now, what it's doing is it's just checking what's in the calendar. It's cross-referencing what's in the billing system that's been already billed. And if there's anything that hasn't been billed for within this date range, they'll pop it up here. I'm just looking right now to see if I can find any. I don't come to these demonstrations prepared with anything specific. Let's keep checking. I'm sure she has something. Here we are. So it looks like she has a whole bunch in June and July. All right. Now the customer can be sent these bills when you create the invoice. It could also charge their credit card automatically. It just depends, and you set it up per customer. In case you're wondering what these pluses and minuses are, these you can just basically add items, and you can source products. You can source additional services and cancellation fees or things like that by adding additional items inside of the bill. So I'm generating this bill right now. I'm just waiting. What it's doing is it's telling the system what's now been billed, which items in the scheduling has been billed. It takes this bill and it populates it here in the list of bills. I can even look at it, and if the customer doesn't pay on their side with their credit card, for example, I can charge their credit card on my side. If you don't want to use credit card system, you can mark it as paid for cash and check. But the real aha moment here is you go back to the new invoice. Stephanie's gone. It's just Bill now. Why? Because she doesn't owe me anything up till this date.